The Kitnityos. Anybody here makbid not to eat like quinoa and stuff like that? Anybody here eats quinoa on Pesach? Oh, eat everything? Corn, rice? No. Anybody here not makbid on Kitnityos? Svardim here? You're Svardim? Oh wow, very nice. Well, you eat sushi on Pesach? Yeah? No, why not?
I don't check the rice.
Because you have to check sure and make sure. Right, you have to make sure there's no kernels of anything else in there. So we're going to talk about these things about Kitnityos. Okay. How to become Aser? Is it a Gzeira? Is it a Takana? Is it a Minag? Why they Aser it? What does the word Kitnityos mean? We see that word a lot in Gemara and in Halacha. It says legumes. That doesn't really help a lot of us. You know, we just even wheat technically is a legume. It has like a shell, and you eat the seed that's in there. All the grains, a lot of types of nuts and seed. Not peanuts. We'll get to in a second. Well, some grow on trees, but all types of string beans, things like that are officially called kitnityos. All types of things that are cut and small, they eat the seeds. So what's the background? So when it comes to chametz, you have to know one thing. There's only 5 things, the Mishnayos, the Gemara says, only 5 things can come to chametz. The 5 grains: wheat, barley, spelt, oats, and rye. These are the only 5 things that could become chametz. You take them, you add them, you make them into flour, you add water, make them into a dough, they become chametz in 18 minutes. Those are the only things in the world that could become chametz. Any other type of thing that has rising, that has fermentation, is not actual chametz. It's called sirchain. It's called, the exact word for it. It's almost like a word for disgusting. I don't know why that's the word, but it has like a detrimental effect that we somehow like. So when you take corn, let's say, and you want to make cornbread, you take the corn, you make it into a flour, and you add water to it, and it rises, and you want to eat cornbread, that's not called chametz. Even though it's somewhat of a fermentation, and it's geshmak to eat, that's a process that's called sirchain. It's like a negative sort of thing, but somehow it tastes good. It is not chametz. The only thing that can become chametz are the 5 grains, nothing else in the world. You have to have that, no corn, no rice. There's no way that it could become chametz for sure. And that's the halacha. You open up a Shulchan Aruch, it is how the Svardim go, Tov and Gimel. These are the things that can become chametz, and it goes through the list: wheat, barley, kusmin, shebei l'shul, v'shipaim. And he says, not rice, not other types of kitnityos, and you're able to eat kitnityos on Pesach. And this is why Svardim, very easy and make a lot of sense. Svardim over here are the way to go. They're not chametz. What's wrong with eating corn, rice? What's wrong with all this stuff? Nothing. And therefore, that's why the eater, you can enjoy your sushi if you end up having that on Pesach. So what's the deal with the kitnityos? So the earliest source is from the Smak. Some people say it's the Goyis Smak. Rabbeinu Peretz, his Talmud of Rabbeinu Peretz. He was a Talmud of the Smak. And he said, it's about 1,000 years ago, that they asked kitnityos. They asked kitnityos, things like rice, things like corn. Why did they ask it? And the reason was because people got confused. Very confusing. You see someone making cornbread or rice bread, and all of a sudden it looks very similar to wheat bread. And people felt that you could somehow get confused between the two. If he's making rice bread in his house, I can make bread made out of wheat. So people can make a mistake, so they decided to aser it. Another reason was, we're not used to being on farms, but they have different things that are growing, and it's very possible that a wheat kernel could get mixed into a rice kernel. And these things happen on the farms or the different places, and therefore you take all your rice or whatever else it is, and you put it into a pot and you cook it, and all of a sudden it's turning into chametz. So it was very hard to make sure that all the little seeds were separate from each other when they used to all store things together and grow things together. And therefore, and there are other reasons, they just said that kitnityos is something that's too dangerous to eat on Pesach, and they said that it's aser. And the Ramah comes along, Ramah is the one that brings it down to halacha. V'yesh oisrim, there are those that aser rice and things like that, that are kitnityos. V'aminig ba'ashkenaz l'hachmer. The minig is to be machmer, v'ein l'shanis, not to be changed. And kitnityos went down in the books as something that's a pretty serious, way more than gebrux. We gave a share on gebrux. Gebrux is much later in time. Gebrux is much more lenient, and that's why a lot more people are not makbid on Gebrux. When it comes to Kitnityos, come out every person in Ashkenaz, besides the Sfardim, is very, very serious. It's Asr even Erev Pesach after Chatzos. Erev Pesach is not as Asr as Pesach itself. It's Asr. And even Acharon Shel Pesach, when we're chilled about Gebrux, we're not chilled about Kitnityos. It's Asr the entire time to eat this stuff. There were a lot of Yisraelim that argued. A lot of Yisraelim. Rabbeinu Yechilmi Periz argued. The Torah said, Chumra Yisera. So way too big of a Chumra. And there's a very famous sefer called the Besamim Rosh. The Besamim Rosh is attributed to the Rosh. Chuvas from the Rish and the Rosh. And he says in the sefer that it's a minhag karaim. It's a minhag of the Karaites. What are you talking about? The Aser, rice and these things. Why should it be Aser? And therefore, a lot of Rishonim say that it should be fine. There happens to be a big controversy over the sefer called the Besamim Rosh. It's not so pashut who it is. It has Askama from the Neid of Yehuda, which gave it a lot of chashivas. However, Mordechai Bennett said it's a forgery, complete forgery, and the Chassam Sofer famously called the sefer the Kizvei HaRosh, like the lies of the Rosh, and it's not a true sefer. So it's a little bit of debate what the Rosh held about this, but Al Kapanim, there are Rishonim that said it's Asr, and there are Rishonim that said it's Mutter. Rabbi Yaakov Emden said the name of his father, very anti-dominion. Very anti. Because you have to realize something. You know what the most dangerous food to eat on Pesach is? It's unbelievable. No one thinks about it. The most dangerous food to eat on Pesach is matzah. Matzah is made out of the same things that can become chametz. That's the only way it can be yaitz to the mitzvah on Leil Seder is with matzah. Right? The same food that can become chametz is what we eat. Leil Seder, and that's the whole mitzvah. And it has to be wheat or one of the 5 grains. Because the whole thing is we don't let it be chametz, we eat it as matzah. But the rest of Yom Tov, to start eating matzahs all the time, very, very dangerous. Especially the way they used to make matzah in the olden days. It wasn't made the same way we have now with mashgichim, and we're very on top of everything. People used to make them in their homes. Very dangerous food. Eating rice and things like that is much better. Rice is a much better thing to eat. And there were a lot of other Kitnityos types of foods. And Rabbi Yaakov Emden said, you're coming, it's a chumrah, the asi l'dei kula. Right? You're being machmer. No, we're scared of corn and all these types of things and rice. You don't realize, what are people going to eat the whole Pesach now? People need to eat. They're going to eat matzah. Matzah is the worst. There are people that don't eat matzah. Some Hasidic Rebbes, they don't eat matzah the entire Pesach besides for Leil Seder. It's too dangerous. I don't know how they're yetza. Maybe they eat other things for the meals. I don't know exactly what. It's a very dangerous food. And therefore, people were very anti from the later Achrayim and said that they want to get rid of it. I think Rabbi Yaakov Emden said from his father that if he had the koyach, he would have gotten rid of it. He didn't have the koyach to stand up against everyone, but if he had the koyach, he would have abolished the minhag. Al kapanim, it sounds like it's a minhag. It's not something that's exera or a takana. It's more of a minhag, but ein l'shanis. You're not supposed to change it. But there are major kulas. People get confused. They think Kitnityos, it's like so usher. You have to sell your Kitnityos, know how to have it, or all these types of things. So there's 3 major heterim with Kitnityos. You have to remember this. Very good heterim. Number 1, a big heter is, it doesn't aser a food. If a little bit of Kitnityos, an ingredient, falls into a tafshel, into a food that you're making, let's say a piece of rice falls into a massive challah, it doesn't aser the challah. Unless you see the rice there, they want to take it out. But if you can't find it, it doesn't aser the challah. Rav Asher Weiss in Eretz Yisrael, a lady called him frantically, and she said to him, it's crazy, you go in the store, these things happen. You buy, you think everything's kosher Pesach. She cooked everything with a certain ingredient that was Kitnityos. She cooked all the foods for Pesach. It's over. So Rav Asher Weiss told her, Chab, everything is mutter. Every single thing you cooked is mutter. Don't tell your husband. But everything you ate and everything you cooked is 100% fine. This is the halacha. Kitnityos does not aser food unless it's the roiv of the food. It's batal b'roiv. You don't even need shishim. Unless it's like very, very a large amount, the food is going to be mutter. That's one big heter. Heter number 2 is, there's no isser hana, and you're allowed to have it on Pesach. So you don't have to sell it, you can have it in your house. You just can't eat it, so put it away. You have rice in your house, put it away. You don't have to sell your Kitnityos. And the third one that's a very big heter, is for people that are sick. People that are sick, any reasons they need to eat kitnityos, also they did not make such a thing for that. If someone that needs for a chayla, even not yesh sakana, chayla she'en sakana, he needs it for medicine, things like that. We're very makel. Obviously, there's an easy alternative, speak to a Rav, but they're allowed to eat it. And even kids, one of the big shas that people asked before is formula. A lot of the formulas have kitnityos. Could I give my kid formula? There are those that say you should try to get a better one, but if somebody calls me, we're generally makel because the kid's a chayla, a little baby, you're gonna start changing the formulas, mothers get nervous, kids could be affect them, and the rest of Pesach might be bad for their stomach, whatever else it is, you could give your kids the regular formula because they're a chayla. So there's a lot of heterim when it comes to kitnityos. It's not like as chamer as people make it out to be. It happens to be they found in the shtaris of someone called the Divrei Makil Tenenbaum. He was a Rav in Lomzha, one of the great big dayan in Lithuania. They found in his shtar that he wrote to sell kitnityos. And everyone's very busy there. Why did he write that? Some people say it was a mistake or it was just a major chumrah. But you look at the shtar harsha that we have, it does not say that you're selling any kitnityos. There's no problem with that. What's the story with the new items that come up in the world? Quinoa, peanuts. A lot of things developed over time that were not known back in the olden days. What is the story with this stuff? So this is a big, big shiloh in Nachronim. Do you take the overall idea of why they asked it and apply it to new foods that came around? Or do you say it was a minute, whatever asked back then, but don't, whatever it was then, not further? Sometimes we find that in halacha, where we take the idea and we say, oh, it applies here as well. And sometimes we say, no, it was said where it was said and not further. So new things came out. Quinoa is very similar to regular grain. It fits all the credentials. You can make it into a bread. It's a kernel. It looks like legumes. And it's similar to wheat. So would you say that they would ask it? So this is where you find some kashrus agencies went with the mahalach that whatever it was, and nothing new, and quinoa was motor. And some say no, it continues with the quinoa that's aser. So I think Badatz and Eretz Yisrael places they aser it. I think the OU asers it. I think or Rebelski. Anyone knows? I forget which one's which. What? They switched it. There are different things. I don't think there's any real minhag about it. It's because it started pretty recently. Whatever you want to be machmer, it can be machmer. There is room to be lenient with quinoa. So if let's say somebody on the diet and they're this is something they need very much and they have other issues, there's definitely room to be lenient. But if someone doesn't care about quinoa at all and says, I don't care about quinoa, definitely a nice thing to be machmer about, but that is up to you about that. Ramesha had a tshuva about peanuts. Peanuts was also a newer development. And Ramesha was the famous one that said, only what was naig. Only what was naig, we don't start adding it in. Peanuts are so for some reason the Velt does not go like Ramesha with this. Ramesha was makel by peanuts, everybody else said it's usher, and for some reason peanuts, I don't know, I think peanuts is a little bit older than quinoa. I don't know what the reasons are. Peanuts, the Velt took on that it's usher. But again, Ramesha said it's fine. So to say that it's usher, I would say generally it's the question is what about corn? I mentioned corn because it's a common one. Why does Ramesha say corn's usher? And corn was also a newer development. So I don't know which things they took on, which things they don't. What? Oh, potatoes. Potatoes are a newer invention, like a newer-ish invention. It was in times of Europe. They didn't have it in the times of Rishonim potatoes. So the famous one was the Chai Adam. And he wanted to say that potatoes potentially are kitnityos because they come from the ground. You can make them into a bread. But a lot of other achronim went crazy about it because they said potatoes are massive. A fat potato. And also you have to realize something. People lived by potatoes. Even think about now, how many potatoes are eaten in your general Jewish family. It's incredible amount of potatoes. So to say potatoes are going to be usher was something that people really needed for their life. They had to eat it. So the minhag became that potatoes are 100% mutter. I don't think anyone's machmer about potatoes. What?
Then it came to the extreme that that's all we eat now.
That's all we eat. Yeah, potatoes is spitz.
You said your name was Chai Adam. You take me to Chai Adam.
Oh, right. There was a line in his sefer called the Chai Adam, which is the life of man, literally. And he's mamish taking away, like Mishmael was saying, the life of a person. potatoes are like what people really, it was cheap. You know, people like, why? I one time went to, what's it called, a gastro doctor. I had to go for something. He was a Jewish guy, but he was not religious at all. He went crazy on me, because he goes crazy on all his patients. He said, you guys are eating the biggest garbage in the world every single Shabbos, and it's all because they did not have money and didn't have access to other foods. He says, go through your menu. Gefilte fish is garbage. They gefilte fish. They didn't have fish. They had to throw in all these other things. You have a piece of salmon. Why do you eat gefilte fish? Potato kugel? Potato is the worst food in the world. You know why they eat potato kugel? They only have potatoes. It's the worst thing. He went through every single food from herring, he wanted to, and like gala and cholent. He said cholent it's cooked so long that every single ounce of nutrition is gone from the food. Okay, you got potatoes. We're all like potatoes and beans. It's a very healthy thing. He said cholent, there's zero. I don't know. This is from him. Zero nutrition. It gets too cooked, too long. It's gone. He went through the entire Shabbos was over. Okay, challah, it's in there. Well, maybe sourdough was good. I never went back to him after that. And that was the end. But yeah, so potato kugel, all those things like that. The big shah that came up recently, not so recent anymore, but when I was growing up, it really came up. I remember we struggled with it, was Kitnityos and Nishtanu. There's a concept where the Kitnityos is so changed. Nishtanu means change. It's like chemically changed, and we really spoke about it by Shabbos ago, Josh, of like totally no shaykhs to what it was originally. I didn't even know these words. Sorbitol, I don't know if anybody knows the words. You look at me like, I'm not familiar. Ethanols and buttermills and the sugarmills, and you see them in the, all these different things. And the question is, what's the story with that stuff? Some people are machmir about it. Some people are not. You look at different kashrus agency. It's definitely a nice thing to be machmir about, but there are people that are makel. So unless anybody knows what their family does, they're machmir on these things. Anybody know? They don't even write anymore. So it's really up to you, whatever you want to do. Depends who you buy for Yom Tov with those derivatives. There are some interesting questions. We'll end with marijuana is a little bit of a question. If it's negated to somebody, I'm serious, it's discussed by the Plaiskim. If it has din of Kitnityos. There's cottonseed oil, there's other things, string beans and the like. There's rapeseed oil, all these types of things that change and develop. If you look at the different kashrus agencies, they say, just to round it, as a finish it up, only thing that becomes chametz is the 5 grains. There's no question about it. And that's how the Sfardim go. Ashkenazim and Rishonim, it came up, I said Ashkenazim Rishonim, that it could get confused the way it's made, the seeds get mixed up, the minute became that it's Aser. It's Aser. It's a little bit of a question about the newer ones that developed over time. Did they Aser it as well? A little bit of a question. But there are major atayim. You're allowed to have it on Yom Tov. If it falls into food, doesn't Aser it. If it, you don't have to sell it, and you give it to a chayla, give it to kids. So there are major kulas. Hopefully the schus, the Klal Yisrael, is so careful about every single, whatever they can. And that schus, we should have a chakasha v'sameach. And by the way, this year falls out the same way we went out of Mitzrayim. The exact same type of year. That Shabbos Gadol was Yud Nisan, and we left on a Thursday. Mitzvah Shem, we should be zeicha to the Gula of Nervi Meir.